Hey, if you use Canva to create anything like landing pages, Instagram carousels, or any visuals for your brand, your content, your business, you need to learn about this tool. Claude just dropped a new feature. It's a tool that's, again, it's brand new and it's changing how we do design. Now, I've been using Claude for the past 6 months and it's pretty much become, it's like a second version of me. And I'll tell you that Claude Design is definitely a game changer. In this video, I want you to understand how to use Claude Design. We're gonna go through all the steps to setting it up, to being able to access each feature, what they mean. And the second part is I'm gonna show you some of the difficulties that I've had using it and brainstorm how to solve those problems. Hopefully by the end of this video, you're gonna actually feel like you're not only a pro at using Claude Design, but you're gonna feel comfortable. You're gonna feel comfortable going into it, experimenting, and not worrying about wasting your time using Claude. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe so we can make more content. And let's dive right in. So the first thing we need to do is we need to find Claude Design. Now, Claude Design is only usable by those who have a paid plan. So there's Pro and there's Max plans. I currently use the Pro plan, and that's just $20 a month. I think it's highly worth it. Definitely recommend. But if you want to use this, you do need to pay. That being said, assuming you already have a Pro plan account, what you can do is log into your Claude on your laptop. And what you're gonna have on the left is there's gonna be a list of products. And so what we have here is Claude Code and Claude Design. Now, currently it's only available using it on a computer. You're not able to use it on your phone. It's not an app or anything, but I'm sure down the road that will be a possibility. We go on to Claude Design. And here I'm going to explain every part of Claude Design. The first thing is on the left, we have prototype, slide deck, from template, and other. What do these mean? Prototype is essentially if you want to make an artifact or some kind of landing page that's interactive, if you want to develop a mobile app that you can click buttons and move around, this is where you'd work. This is where you build a prototype that eventually you would give to a programmer who can actually turn the visuals into like a working website or a working app. Prototype is a lot of fun. I've used it, even though I'm not building websites currently. It is nice to be able to go in, play around, and have some interactive feel to some of the projects that you do. The next one is a slide deck, which of course is essentially replacing PowerPoint. And the thing I think is incredible about slide deck is that we used to pay just for this one feature by itself. I don't know if you've ever used Gamma AI. It was a very big popular AI tool that people used to buy. And the whole purpose was to do what slide deck does, right? And Gamma, if I remember right, it was like $8 or $9 a month. And it could turn any text, any images into a PowerPoint presentation for you. Now, if you want to, pitch to a potential brand deal, or if you want to make kind of like a slide deck brochure about you and your services and what you do, you can put your information in here. It automatically makes the slide deck and it looks phenomenal. The next thing is from template. And I'll be honest, I haven't used from template very much. However, what you can do is you can create templates or use some of the templates that Claude has. Now, this is not the same thing as having your brand. For example, if you have specific colors and fonts and, different styles that you like to use in all of your different pieces of content, this is not where you're going to put that. Instead, you're actually going to go over here to design systems. That's what we're going to talk about here at the end, so stay tuned. But that is where you're actually going to put any piece of brand information. So, okay, the last one is other, which would be any project that you're doing that just doesn't fit those categories. You can put it in the other category. Something we should notice though, let's say we go to a slide deck, right? There's a part here that says design system. Now, this is what I alluded to earlier. Now, a design system is what essentially makes Claude Design 50 billion times better than just typing into Claude or typing into Gemini or typing into ChatGPT and say, hey, make me, an Instagram carousel. The reason this is so much better is because your design system is a step-by-step blueprint that tells the AI, this is what I want the fonts to always be. This is what I always want it to look like. This is exactly the types of colors that I use. And all of it lives in the design system. As you see here, you can assign different ones. So I have my Help Recover Life design system, and then there's just a default design system. Or you can click none if you want to do something that's completely different, completely unique. Now that we've understood the first part of Claude Design, let's move over to more the right side of the page. We have here, of course, recents, which would be any projects you've worked on recently, pops up right here, which is very nice, very convenient. The next part here is your designs, right? And this has a list of all the different designs that I've done. And then examples. I like this because it gives you a prompt on the right and it shows you a visual of what it can look like. So, just scrolling through here, if you want to make a calculator, right? If you want to have like a fire that's burning here on the text, right? You can actually create that in your prototype or in your slide deck or whatever. Or here, for example, like you can actually make an onboarding app that has a flow of all the different pieces that you would need for someone to log into your app. So the possibilities are endless. That's what's really cool about this. Last but not least is we need to talk about the design system. Now, the design system is probably the pitfall that most people waste their time on. And I'm going to tell you 3 things that will make this 1,000 times easier, okay? First, let's dive into what does the screens look like. So when you log in, you know what you're looking at. What you can do is you create a new design system, and it's gonna have company name and blurb. So this is where you can, of course, tell the AI what you're trying to do, but it also helps you organize in case you have different brands or different companies that you're working for. The next part is that you can actually link code from GitHub. Now, if GitHub is something you've never heard of and you're not someone who uses code or uses HTML for any websites or anything like that, don't worry about this. I'm someone who's not technical. I never really used GitHub until I started diving into AI. And like it says here, it says all optional. So you don't have to worry about this at all. The other part is if you use a .fig file, which again, I honestly don't use, but if you do use that, you can drop and put that in there, and that uploads your fig file and uploads your brand. The last part here, which is you can add fonts, logos, and assets. So if you have logos that you already use for your company, for your business, for your channel, whatever it is, you can put that in there as well. And then of course, any other notes, anything else that you just know that you'd like as far as your brand and your content. Now, if you're like me, this might be the most overwhelming part because you don't have a brand. You don't already know what fonts you want to use. You don't know what colors you like. And so I found a 3-step process to go from nothing to actually having a full-fledged design system made for you using Claude. The way I did this is I actually went and chatted with Claude. I'm going to pull up here what our conversation looked like so you get an idea. So the first thing is you need to prompt Claude that, hey, I want to make my own design system. The second thing is I highly recommend finding some references. References are essentially other people's work who you know that you like. For example, I dropped a couple of URLs or websites, and unfortunately, it pulled it up and it started to give me a lot of cool information about these different websites. The problem is it was lying to me. It actually couldn't read the websites and analyze them. So that's one flaw that you should watch out for is instead of uploading the URLs, I would just take screenshots. It can look and visually see the screenshot if you just share the image from the website or from the creator that you already like. The third step is you need to go back and forth and back and forth. This is where you need to massage out all the details with Claude. And something that I liked is when I went through here, it was able to show me based on these pictures, hey, these are the colors they use. Here's a bunch of different options, right? It gave me these different blues. Here it is. It showed all these different kinds of shades of blue that we could potentially use. And that helped me make a much better decision. If you feel like you're still struggling on deciding what colors to use, there's a website I found that is phenomenal. It's called mycolor.space. And if you go on here, you can type in any color, right? Say, I want to pick a blue that looks like this. You click generate, and it's going to give you a bunch of different colors that you can actually use to be able to go with that color. What I love is, like these different pinks and teals I never would have thought of. A classy palette, a cube palette, a switch palette. Like there's just so many options that you can use when you're trying to decide, hey, I know I like this primary color. What else am I going to be using? So that's myspace.color. Go and check it out. It's going to be a link in the description. Okay, so now that we've gone through those 3 steps, we've already went and gave Claude our prompt, hey, I want to build a design system. We then made sure to give it some screenshots, not URLs, but screenshots of work that we do like. And the third part is you need to go back and forth, right? I'd go to mycolor.space if you want some more guidance, or just keep asking it questions, and that is how you'll develop your design system. The last step is to get this onto GitHub. I personally like using GitHub now, especially as I get more into AI. It's a great place to put code. It's a good community to actually download templates to use AI better. So if you're already using AI, it's a great time to start learning about GitHub. Essentially, you go onto github.com, you click new for a new repository. You can name it whatever you want, right? Content dashboard, HRL design system, right? That's the one I actually used. Make sure that the visibility is public so that Claude Design is able to come in and grab it, and then create the repository. Then what you can do is you can create a new file, copy and paste whatever it is that the Claude chat gives you, and then commit changes will be here. I'll just type some things, commit changes, save, and boom, now we have a file here, right? And the great thing is I can go to design and I just copy the link, paste it here, and add. That's going to give all the different pieces of your brand to your Claude Design. Now, that part's probably the most intimidating. Everything else from this is pretty easy stuff. So if you have more questions, feel free to drop questions in the comments. I promise I'll answer them. I'll even make another video if you need me to. Now, seeing this in action, I actually made an Instagram carousel test. What I did is I wanted to create an Instagram carousel using text I already had that was going to go into Canva and make a carousel. And instead, I just gave it to Claude Design. I uploaded and connected my Help Recover Life design system, right? That's my branding. And I put it and attached it here. What I did is I just said, use the following copy to make an Instagram carousel, boom. And I gave it the words, and this is what came out, right? As you scroll through here, I mean, it looks pretty nice. The thing is, what I love about it is just like Gamma AI, if I wanted to add an image, right? For example, I can go here, I can add a file or reference another project, right? And I can upload some kind of image, text, something like that. Say, hey, put this diagram here, or even just tell it, describe it here. Hey, make a diagram on slide 3 so it's more visual. There's lots of things you can do to massage and work back and forth, and that's what I love about Claude Design versus just going on Canva, for example. So now that we've reviewed Claude Design, my question for you is, which part of this felt like the most difficult or challenging? I want you to comment below and tell me which part do you need help with, and we'll make a follow-up video to answer any questions that you have. And because you've watched this all the way through, I have a bonus for you. The bonus is that this video right here is going to help you on your next step of learning how to use AI as someone who is a content creator, as someone who is a business owner. I promise you that AI is going to be super helpful for you, for your business, for your content. As someone who is learning how to use AI, I'm very excited about it. It's a lot of fun, but it can be daunting, and that's what I'm here to do, is to help you learn as I learn. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, you're in the right place.